TUFF SHIFT. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT, the podcast where we unpack all that goes into surviving the job and living the dream. I am your host, Sean Patrick Murtagh, and I'm getting a weird echo. I'm not sure what this is, but we're not going to start again. Because what's the point when we could just be real, as we are always real on here? I'm nothing if not transparent, and maybe I should edit a little more. Maybe I should, but it's not really my brand. It could become my brand. Anyways, we don't need to unpack that. We got enough stuff to unpack today. You may have noticed we took a week off. Maybe you didn't notice, but we did. We took a week off. It wasn't my intention to leave you without an episode last week, but it was my intention to take care of myself and where I was at. And what I could actually do. I didn't feel like putting out an episode that would just have been stressful. And I was like, do I put out one more montage thing? And I could have done that, but even, gathering clips and putting those together and creating an opening to gel all of it together, just didn't, I did not have the space for it. I did not have the space for it. And so I decided to make some space for myself. I actually just looked, and the numbers, like, how is it that I didn't post an episode last week and the numbers are better? I don't mind. I don't know what that is. Maybe I just need to take a little break every now and then. Probably won't. Or just allow the numbers to be the numbers, and trust that you will show up as I show up. And if I can't show up, you'll hold a space for me. And weeks when you can't show up, I'll hold a space for you, and we'll all be in this together. Do not go into High School Musical. That's not what y'all are here for, right? No, me either. But to really just reiterate about just how exhausted I was in this transfer. I mean, I'm not exhausted in the same way I was working in restaurants. Not nearly as exhausted, but it has been definitely a shift, and trying to figure out that schedule, right? Trying to figure out my new week, my new, what is that thing? Schedule, but I can't exactly think of the word I'm looking for, but like the hours that I'm working, and now working from morning to evening. And then when I'm working in the valley and coming home, and it's a whole new way of life for me. I don't have my mornings available as I used to. And now I'm getting up at like 5:30, 6 a.m. every day. And just like, by the time it's 7 o'clock, I'm like jumping to the computer so I can get to work, which is not usually me. I like my coffee. I like my little morning talk shows, help me get up out of bed, but now it's different. And funny enough, I've been going to these, it's called Out Close. And it's basically like for gay men. I'm not sure if we talked about this before. For gay men to meet other gay men in a friendship scenario. Like, you're over a certain age, or you're really any age, and you're not really in that place to where you're going to bars like you used to maybe when you're in your 20s or 30s or whenever. And especially for me, not being in New York. Not being in New York, where it's just like, yeah, you go to a bar on your way home, you're good. It's different out here. It's not, and it's also not my lifestyle. Like, I have a front yard, a dog, and a partner. Like, it's just, I'm not hanging out at bars anymore. And not doing as much theater or surrounded by as much theater community as I was in New York. So when I did Parade last fall, it was like, I was so excited. I told Jeremy, I'm like, I'm making my first theater friends in LA. And it sounded so weird, almost like I'm in kindergarten, but that's what it felt like, the joy and the giddiness of making new friends and meeting new people and having a project to work on after almost, at that point, a little over 3 years here, or coming up on 3 years here in LA. It just felt so wonderful. And so there are these things like all over my Instagram about, actually to take it back a little further, when I was working at a place in Venice, they had these, I think it was like Wednesday nights or Thursday nights, something like that. It was called Time Left. And it was this reservation of 6 strangers, and they'd come. And at first it's like, ugh, I don't want to wait on these people like losers. Like I had a lot of judgment. I had a like, you need to make friends in your 30s and 40s. Look in the mirror, look in the mirror. And then when I waited on them, it was actually probably the easiest tables I ever waited on, because they were just like self maintaining. They were too busy getting to know each other. And when you're around all strangers, there's a little less room for bad behavior in a restaurant. So everyone was always fine. It wasn't that crazy of an order. I mean, the bills weren't ridiculous, because people meeting people for the first time aren't, on their third or fourth cocktail. They're having one or two cocktails, if any at all. Everyone's just well behaved. And it's like, sometimes you need a table like that. Like, maybe I won't make a ridiculous amount of money on you. And even if you're not spending that much, it's still a six top. So I'm not losing much, and I'm actually fine. And you just need a table like that when things go crazy, to just be like, oh, I don't have to worry about them. And then it allows you to then give better service to them, because I'm not going to ignore you, but I know you're good. And then when I come over here, it's just not chaotic. I'm not as out of it. It's so I was like, this is actually a wonderful idea. Like, maybe I should try something like this. And they have like little icebreakers and this and that. And then nothing came of it. Like, when am I going to do this? I'm in a restaurant. There's no way I can feasibly do this. And then towards the end of my tenure at the most recent restaurant I worked at, ads started popping up for like a gay version of it, or queer version. You queer version of this, where you can meet other gay and queer people, either in West Hollywood or Silver Lake, which is basically like Hell's Kitchen or Brooklyn, and just meet six strangers and get to know each other. No pressure, no nothing. It's not like one of those apps, which nothing wrong with those types of apps. There's no pressure for sex or dating or this or that. So like, people in relationships are there, single people are there, people from all walks of life are coming to just like make adult queer friends and kind of settle in and make their own community in LA. And it's been pretty good. I've done two so far. And funny enough, the first one we went to was at the Butcher's Daughter in West Hollywood, right across from Chiconi's, which was a restaurant owned by Madonna's brother for a long time. And the thing about the Butcher's Daughter in the West Village is that when I was pounding the pavement here in LA looking for a job, and my partner was like, "You can't just walk around and look for a job." And everyone, before I left New York, was like, "Oh, have you started emailing restaurants?" I'm like, That's not how you get a job in restaurants. You have to show up." And it's not like a 9 to 5 where, there's something tying you to this job, like a pension, like health benefits, like any of that, to where you would show up. Restaurants are so transient, like, you're not going to get a job offer over email, right? You may remember we did talk about this before. So I was like, it's fine. And I looked at the map. I'm like, trust me, I've walked more than this in New York on any given day. This is nothing. I don't know why my pride gets ahead of me. My mouth gets ahead of my brain. That was probably some of the 3 hardest days on my body of my life. And I used to belong to a gym cult. Uh, that was like the 3 hardest days of my life. I walked 30 miles in 3 days looking for work. And just to like really, like, it's like 30 miles, whatever. The last day was 14 miles. Of those 30 miles, 14 were on that Friday looking for work. And everywhere I went, I mean, it was, when did I come here? That was July. So it's hot, right? But you got to look nice. You got to dress nice. And then I can't be wearing sneakers. So I'm wearing dress shoes. And this one I had started at Michelli's in Hollywood, and I told my partner about this, like, this is going to be my route, this is what I'm going to do. And he's like, you can't do that. And I was like, yes, I can. So I made myself, made my way from the heart of Hollywood all the way down Hollywood, down Sunset, around Melrose, West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, back again. And I ended at the Butcher's Daughter and walked in. The host was really lovely, took my resume. They're not hiring. Okay, whatever. Just like, it was the last stop of the day. I was defeated. My entire body was aching. My knees were throbbing. My ankles were throbbing. I was just in so much physical pain. I was walking, like, Viola Davis in How to Get Away with Murder, Annalise Keaton. I had like that. I had gotten that cage. I had gotten to like that point where I'm like, everything just hurts. I'm walking down the halls like this. And no sooner had I walked out the front door of the butcher's daughter than the manager ran out after me. Apparently, the host had handed her my resume. And she's like, wait, wait, come back, come back. And I was like, oh my God, I got a job, I got a job. And I ran back and she brought me in, gave me a glass of water, and just wanted to talk with me. And she's like, I'm not hiring. None of our locations are hiring. But I'm seeing your resume and I know all these places that you've worked at. I love people from New York. Like, New York talent is needed out here. Uh, I would love to help you. Just like, and it was like this wonderful thing. Like, of all the shit that I talk about this industry, this sense of community to where this woman just really uh, went out of her way to be like, I want to make sure you're taken care of. I don't have anything to offer you, but I can give you some names and I can help point you in the right direction. And she got me an interview at one of her friends' restaurants. And so the next week, I went in there. I borrowed my partner's car at the time, drove up there, had an amazing interview at this place that sounded so cool and so great and like easy to get to from home. And then they never called me back. They were like, we can't wait to have you. And like, I did some follow-ups. There was like a thing with the general manager coming back from vacation. It didn't happen. And I'm like, that place, they still send me emails about like stuff that's going on this weekend at blah, blah, blah. And I just ignore them. I should unsubscribe, but I like a little bit of spite in the morning when I drink my coffee. But just that random act of kindness from this stranger who didn't know me, but could tell I was a quality person based on what I had on my resume, who she saw sitting in front of her and talking to her about my experience in this industry. It's something that, I will never forget. And again, for all the things I have to say about this industry, I will say, I don't remember her name, but I will say the nicest things about her and my experience at the Butcher's Daughter. So it was only appropriate that my first experience with these out close dinners was at the Butcher's Daughter, meeting these 5 other men and just like, sharing our stories, talking, getting to know each other. And it was interesting because there were 3 parties, 3 different out close reservations at the Butcher's Daughter that evening. And some of them had some drop offs. So we had people join our reservation and the other reservation. We consolidated. And it was kind of cool. It was like, just like making it up as you go along. It felt, I don't know, very European, just like poured, very Hello Dolly at the Harmonia Gardens, just pulling tables together and you sit here and you sit there. The one thing about that is without close, you match with friends. You can say, oh, I really enjoyed this person, and you have like a chat group with all the people you went out with. So the people who joined our reservation but weren't part of our reservation weren't included in the whole like, who did you click with, what did you have to think about, blah blah blah, weren't included. But that's fine. I'm gonna do a few more of these, and if I run into them, I run into them. If not, no sweat, no nothing. But it's been really cool. And I was like, again, similar to like my first day of rehearsal, meeting my first LA cast and making my first theater friends. It was like, these are potential adult friends in a new city, and we share similar identities. And it was really wonderful, and connecting on Instagram. And nothing's come of it yet. There's always been like, oh, I'm gonna go see this weekend, I'm gonna go do that this weekend. And nobody's ever available to join in with each other. But it's just nice, maybe one day we'll go see a show together or meet up for a happy hour. Really cool. I can't speak any more highly of it. Like, if you are looking, if you have these in your neighborhood, these out closes, or anything really, like Time Left or 222, whatever it is, like to meet adult friends and kind of change it up. Because how do you meet adult friends this day and age? This is an option, right? And couldn't hurt. I couldn't speak any more highly of it. So far, I've been on 2. I had a great time. The last one, I went to a place and the food was good. The drinks were good. I'm not too sure how I feel about the place in general. and it's not that deep that I'm gonna like talk shit about this place. Um, but the food was good. The company was even better. The company was phenomenal. There were again 6 of us. Again, it was going to be 7 of us. Someone dropped off. Um, and at first, it's just kind of that weird thing. Oh, hi. Have you done an out close before? Oh, where are you coming from? Oh, blah. All these random little icebreakers and like who's going to be the odd man out? Who's going to make it awkward? Who's going to say something inappropriate? And it's just like, oh God, no, we're all adults, and just kind of sharing our experience. One of them went on one where he was with like all these younger people, and he was like, and you could just feel everyone was there not to make friends, everyone was there for the opposite. And he's like, I have a partner. That's not what I'm looking for. No shade, no nothing, but it's nice to be at this table where we all seem to be on the same page, and we're all just cool. And like the table that I was at, I mean, we were from all walks of life, all different professions, all whatever, all different stages of coming out, all different stages of identifying, all this and that. And it was just wonderful to kind of like, oh, everyone here is cool. Everyone at this table is cool, and we all connected with each other. And I feel like, this is the one. If I'm going to make like a real life friend out of one of these things, it's going to be from this group. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the next group, or maybe the next group will be awful. But if you have one of these types of meetup groups in your neighborhood, and this is something that sounds interesting to you, it's also a great way to learn other restaurants. And someone brought up the fact that there's a place in West Hollywood I had heard of at the time called La Boheme. That sounds cool. Yeah, it's outdoorish. They have great happy hours. They do drag shows on Sundays. The Monday nights are all night happy hour. And it just so happened the following Monday after this, I met up with other friends of mine, and somebody suggested La Boheme, and I'm like, oh my God, let's go there. And I mean, the service was wonderful. The atmosphere was wonderful. I felt like I was on the set of like Selling Sunset. Like it looked like one of those restaurants, or The Hills, or whatever. Like, oh my God, these are the restaurants you see on reality shows set in Los Angeles. It was super cool. But going back to this group that I had met up with, we're all just kind of like exchanging, our lives, our stories. Like, and it got to like, what do you do for the weekends? And I was like, I don't know. I actually I don't know what I do for the weekends. And, I brought up the fact that I had just retired from hospitality and didn't really know what I was going to be doing with my weekends, because since I've been out of restaurants, I've not really had a weekend here in LA. Thankfully, I've had opportunity to be able to pop up to Lake Tahoe with family, to be able to pop up to the Bay Area to see family. The one weekend I did kind of have available here in LA, it was all in service of getting ready to go teach in Iowa. So I didn't really have an understanding. And I was like, when we were having this was before Easter. And I was like, and I don't even know what because this weekend I'm leaving town again. For 72 hours. So I don't know what's going to be happening for my first weekend, but I cannot wait to update you. And I'm updating you because this is being recorded literally hours before it goes live, but after my very first weekend here in Los Angeles, not having to work in a restaurant. And you know what I did? Oh my God. Oh my God, you won't believe what I did. I well, I folded laundry. I bleached the bathroom. I bleached the stove. I did chores. I was listening to music and podcasts all day. Oh, it was exactly what I want it to be. This is a weird thing. I don't know exactly when the switch happened for me in my life. It was at some point in New York where chores somehow became my self care. Doing chores became my self care. And it brings me so much joy to be able to to walk into a bathroom that smells freshly bleached, to look at a stovetop and not see a crumb, not see anything that boiled over and baked in, doing dishes, with counters, vacuuming. Oh my God, it brings me, and doing laundry, just doing laundry and folding laundry. It brings me joy. And that's what I was able to do. I was able to do chores this weekend. And I usually find a way to do my chores at some point in the week. But, I really haven't had a day off until until I stopped working in hospitality. I almost said took a break. Almost said took a break. And so the chores then actually became chores. And it was harder to do and harder to have the energy to do these chores and get these things done. And I didn't want them to be chores. I wanted, this is my self-care. I don't want it, I had this timetable, and it's like bearing down on me, and it's just weighing down on my soul that, I gotta do the dishes before I leave, and now I don't have time to do my laundry. And I love having that time, and I really love having days off. Who would have thunk, Who would have thunk that you like having days off? So one thing I gotta do is I gotta do chores. And laundry's all put away, bathroom's clean, kitchen's clean, everything's been vacuumed. I do have to do the floors like a little deeper, but coming off from, the holidays, and I know we're in April, but just like that nonstop work between bookkeeping and personal assistant work and catering and restaurants, and really not being able to give the love and attention I like to give to my home, it felt good to like really break in and really get some good work done. And I can't wait for this weekend to get even more work done around the house and have a little more fun cleaning up and getting my life together. The other thing that has been interesting is, you know, learning your limitations is something, it's a hard pill to swallow as you get older, specifically that part, learning your limitations. Because I used to be able to go to the gym. I would be at my gym cult and working out, and then go straight from swinging kettlebells to then cook shop. And I'd walk the 20 blocks to cook shop, and then wait at tables and all that busy thing. And then I'd, not walk to the nearest subway stop. I'd walk to the next further one up, just for that extracurricular activity. And I'd be, going and doing bookkeeping during the day. I was able to do so much and do it so well. And I've been fighting the urge to accept where I'm at in life, to where I can still do all those things. I can work out like a fiend. I can throw kettlebells. I can lift heavy shit and put it down in a controlled manner. I can run. I can do all these things. That's one thing. I can bartend. I can lift giant jugs of ice and, carry them up and down stairs, and this. I can carry all these cases of wines and liquor and all that and product up and down. I can do all that. That's a separate thing. I can clean my house. I can deep clean. I can water the garden. I can take out the trash. I can lift things. I can move things. I can all of that. That's one thing. But when I try to stack those things together or even gently overlap them, that's when my body's like, oh, mama, no. Like, I'm waking up sore, and then I'm going at the gym, and it's like, why does this feel hard? Like, it shouldn't feel that hard. I'm still able to do what I'm doing at work, and I'm still able to do all these other things, but I'm not able to do them all together, right? Because your body just needs rest. And especially since I've been here in LA, I've not really been giving my body the rest I've needed, because I've just been trying to either prove a point, trying to catch up to an industry, the hospitality industry that I've aged out of, and should have said goodbye to a long time ago, trying to catch up to an industry here in LA that is going through an identity crisis, trying to catch up, even financially myself, with the sillier mistakes I made in New York City, all in the name of my career or the potential of my career. Like, my body was just in constant shock and constant crisis and constant run, 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 run. And I don't feel that. I feel, yeah, I'm tired because it's tax season and we're coming out of that. And I'm tired from X, Y, and Z, but I'm not exhausted. Right. And the timing of this is interesting because my partner just started a fitness journey for himself. He is a former yogi. He swims quite a bit, but he wanted to do some strength training. So he's doing these like boot camp classes right now. And, he's been, really, really sore. And so him being who he is, he's like, well, let me problem shoot that. So he goes and researches like, why am I this sore? And then he realizes like, oh, he's not getting enough protein and all these things. And then he's now gotten into this place to where he's counting his protein. And like, I figured this out because he was like, I saw him with a measuring cup portioning out his dinner. I'm like, are you okay? Like, I should be doing that. You're not somebody that needs to do that, right? And he's like, no, I really want to make sure I hit these goals. I'm not doing it for anything else. I want to hit my protein goals. I want to make sure getting all that I need, because I really want to continue with this strength building and with this fitness journey that he's on. And that's wonderful. And so we're talking about that, and it just kind of like makes me nerd out. It makes me think of like that time I was in a gym cult. Hey there, just checking in. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, why not leave us a 5-star review and a comment or two wherever you're listening to this from? And don't forget to follow us on social media at TUFF SHIFT Podcast. That's TUFF Shift Podcast. Everywhere, literally everywhere. And just a reminder, gratuity's not included, but tips are always welcome. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF Shift Podcast.com. All right, back to the show. And it's really bringing up happy memories. And he's telling me about these boot camp classes that he's taking, and the things that he's doing. I'm like, oh my God, that makes me so happy. Oh my God, have you done this yet? And he's, talking about doing these certain lifts and deadlifts and split squats. And I'm like, oh, I love it. And he was talking about, he had the barbells. He was holding a plank pose, like he was about to do a push-up, but then he's rowing up each barbell. And I'm like, oh, bro, I love that. That's a great journey. And it's just like, I get this awful like heterotoxicity straight bro thing, and it's just like it calls to my inner caveman, and it just made me so happy to go down this journey. Now next week's episode, because I've already recorded it, and in the beginning of that episode I apologize for leaving you stranded last week. I apologize for not being proud of the last few episodes. And I said, I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to repeat it in the episode that comes before this. So it's going to sound out of order, but this is just where we're at. And this is how we have to get things done, because I usually do record these in chronological order. And I just don't trust myself to not mention something that I haven't mentioned yet. Right. So now I'm like, again, and just like the editing, we're just going to acknowledge it and move forward with it, right? But, next week's episode, I get to interview one of my teachers from that fitness cult that I was a part of. And it was just perfect, because before I interviewed him, Jeremy and I had this conversation, and I was just nerding out, and it brought me down memory lane, and just all the joy, and not just the joy, but everything I learned about myself being part of that gym cult. And especially, I was the fat kid growing up. I, missed out on a lot of things in theater because physically my physical presentation did not match my voice. And for anyone that's ever struggled with weight, you get looked over and you get treated a certain way, and it's not cool. It's not cool the way people treat you, and it's just like, oh, you're fun and you're jovial and you're this and you don't have feelings and you're not a romantic lead because, only skinny people are in love stories. Like, it fucking sucks, and it stays with you. And, and getting bullied for being fat for your whole life, it stays with you in such a way. And so really diving into this gym cult empowered me. It was a bit triggering. I didn't lose the weight that I lost in this gym cult, but I really became healthier with my weight journey because of this gym cult. But it plays with your fucking mind when all of a sudden people, they're like, oh, you're the fun fat friend, and you're the this and you're the that. And then all of a sudden now you're attracted to them for some reason. And it's like, on one thing, it's like, oh, okay, thanks. It's nice that someone finds me attractive. Like, that's nice feedback. Thank you. But also kind of hurtful that you're making a distinction of that I wasn't before. So these are all things that, I unpack with my therapist. But that's kind of the joy that I got from this gym cult is kind of dealing with a lot of that trauma, a lot of that nonsense, and rewriting the narrative about what fitness is. And yes, I had a specific body type goal that I was working towards, but really understanding what true fitness is and what true strength is. And if the end result happens to be that body that you want, boom. If that's the body you want, rent is due every day. And this is this and that. Otherwise, you can still, you know, be at any body and still be fit, still be healthy. It taught me so much of how to train myself and how to have fun, right? Because PE wasn't fun as a kid. None of those things, it was a chore. Even when I lost the weight, I had to trick myself into liking the gym. Yeah, I had to trick myself into liking the gym, and I did it. I rewired my brain around it, and that was one thing. But being a part of this gym actually made it fun. And then having to like get to relive that joy and that accomplishment and that success, listening to my partner's story about it, and then talking to next week's guest about it, which we'll get to next week. I'm not going to put the cart before the horse. It really kind of impacted how I spent this weekend too, because I went to the gym really just like I can't wait. I can't wait to kind of go down this path and all the things that Jeremy's talking about, like have that shape, and it influenced my workout. And not only was I not physically exhausted, but I was in a mind space of having fun. And so I did my 20-minute cardio to kind of get my body loose and get everything started before I did my kettlebells and weights and all that. And I got to have fun at the gym on my weekend, on my days off. I got to have fun in doing the fitness that I enjoy, where it's not a chore and my body's not aching and I'm not running on joints that are tired from standing behind a bar for 8 hours. I was jumping up and down off of benches like I was in, Singing in the Rain, like I was Cosmo Brown, and I was swinging things. And I was, the other thing about working at Mark Fisher Fitness is there's like what the actual exercise is, and then there's the way that they interpret it to kind of make it more Broadway-esque, And so for someone who also wasn't a dancer, that place made me feel incredibly graceful and incredibly like an athletic dancer. It made me feel empowered in that too. So I'm just like jumping up sideways and moving my hands up and over off the bench as I'm getting my, my cross training in and doing all these fun exercises and putting my own spin in a healthy way. I'm like, oh, I guess this is what I can talk about what I do on my weekend. I have fun with fitness, and that brings me joy. I did my chores. I did that. It has been such a remarkable journey. And, I used to share a lot more of my fitness journey on Instagram. And I was like, do I start making like little fun videos again of me doing burpees or me doing my little Singing in the Rain on the bench, off the bench, again, jumps, which was also funny because then it reminded me of, I'm not sure if how many people were listening back when I was doing parade and that little story of the time that I jumped on the bench in rehearsal. And because I just wanted to show, like, I'm a fucking gorilla, guys. I am strong as shit. And when the stage manager talked about how reinforced that bench was, like, she said, you could jump on it and it wouldn't break. And I was like, challenge accepted, because I have to show how strong I am all the time. It is a toxic trait. And if you remember, I did a proper jump. I flew up in the air. I landed cleanly. It was such a clean land, such a soft land on that bench. The bench didn't have grips, right? The floor didn't have grip. So the bench went flying out from under me. And it was just like in a split second, I had the most clean land. And then all of a sudden, I was falling backwards like Hans Gruber in Die Hard. I was like, and I saw my whole life flash before my eyes. I'm like, oh shit, like you're a fucking bartender. You're going to break your wrist doing this stupid shit. So there was a little bit of that at the gym, a little trauma there, going back like, oh, don't fall, but like, okay, this is the scenario in which it is safe to jump on a bench. And I wasn't doing full jumps. I did those in Iowa at the gym in the hotel there. It wasn't a full jump. It was kind of like, hopping on and off. So just 1 foot, down, 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 boom, boom, up, boom, 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 one step by step. So it was fine, but I was like, triggered. This, this could be dangerous, except this is the place to do it, not at rehearsal on a set piece that you don't ever touch in the show, right? So we live, we learn, we laugh, we cry. Anyways, that was just like a fun experience. So I'm thinking maybe I start sharing some of those and the silly things I do around fitness with all of you. So stay tuned for more of that. Right. And what else did I do with my weekend? Well, we went to do an escape the room. And That was fun. We went to Universal Studios. They have like an escapology thing there. It was weird. It was it was really weird. Like we went and got drinks before that. We're like, we're gonna need something. So we went to this place called, I think it's the Chocolate Factory or the Candy Shop, something. It looks like a mix of the, the Timothy Chalamet Wonka world or the Jingle Jangle world, like where it's kind of like steampunky and gear-ish, and the bartenders are, dressed in bowlers and this and that. And everything is like, it's chocolate, right? So uh, we went for Jeremy's friends' birthdays, and they got margaritas, and I don't drink sweet things. I was just gonna be like, I like margaritas as sweet as I get, but they had this like white chocolate margarita, and I was like, I gotta try it. I gotta I gotta try it, right? It was a fucking pina colada with tequila and white chocolate liqueur. It wasn't like a crazy margarita. It was a pina colada with a white chocolate liqueur and tequila. But it was good, and I'm glad we did it. So if you happen to find yourself at City Walk, stop in there. I'm like, again, as somebody who does not do sweets, that was delicious. And then we made our way over to escape the room, and we did escape the room. I don't want to say too much to give anything away because I feel like it's one of those things you just got to do. But I will say, don't be afraid to ask for hints, because I really don't know that we would have escaped the room had we not used the hint button, because some of the things were just not intuitive. It was like, I mean, not enough ADHD medicine in the world to make me see what I should have seen on my own that they claimed, like, oh, look behind you. But it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. And then we went to this place in Studio City, or Sherman Oaks, actually, right on the border in Ventura, called Casita. Babies, babies. That place was happening. That place was packed. Saturday night on Ventura during Coachella, which I guess maybe the Coachella crowd is probably more proper LA and not actually like the Valley LA, but that is a judgment. That is a judgment. But this place was packed with, young people, old people, families, people from all walks of life coming in here. And we had a reservation, but this one really adorable young couple walked up to the hostess and was like, "Hey, we're wondering if we could get a table." And she's like, "Do you have a reservation?" And they're like, "No, we're just wondering how long the wait would be for someone like just walking in." And it was like 6:45. And she's like, "Yeah, no, we're not going to get to you till 9, just to be honest." And she's like, "But if you want to go try the bar, try your luck there." And they just like looked at each other. They said thank you to the host, which I'm like, good job. Good job. It's not her fault. So really sweet. They looked at the bar, and I have this trouble where I'm like, do not get involved in other people's lives. I'm like, hey, you got to just, because they looked at the bar and they saw that it was full, and they looked at each other and shrugged and walked away. And I had to stop myself from getting involved and meddling because it's none of my goddamn business. But I wanted to be like, no, you guys, I'll show you how to look. You got to look to see who's at their last sip. You got to look for checks. You got to see, you got to hover. Like, you can get a bar seat if you want it. Like, I wanted to be like the guru of how to get yourself a bar seat, like, which is what I did, working here in LA. The people don't know how to wait for a bar seat. And it's like, no, listen here. What you're going to do is you're going to stand behind the people who are getting up. And they'd be like, okay. And then they'd walk away and be in their phones or conversation, and the seats would be gone. And they'd be like, what happened? I was like, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Like, you need to stand. And if you walk away, you need to keep eye contact with me so I can drop you in. Like, so I did that when I was on the clock. I'm not on the clock. I don't even mess with these people's lives. But the urge to be that person who used to work in hospitality and share my secrets of the trade, I can't. I can't. I mean, I could, and I want to. I really, really want to. But you know what? These people walked away. Maybe they'll learn their lesson. Maybe they won't. But at the end of the day, it didn't have any impact on my day, other than the fact that I'm talking about it 48 hours later. Anyways, we get to our seats, and I just, first of all, shout out to our waitress who was overwhelmed. She was busy. The place was busy. She was moving nonstop, and she handled like a pro. Now, she couldn't be as attentive as probably like, most people want, but we were not without. We always had water. We always had chips. Their chips come in like a canvas bag, which is really bizarre, but I kind of love it. And she was on top of shit. Like, it was just, she was moving through it and it was wonderful. And you could tell she was not, again, not overwhelmed, but she was busy. And the birthday girl's husband, pulled her aside and just said, "Hey, we see how you're hustling and you're doing a great job." And I was like, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of the people I surround myself with, that they're good guests. That I would not be able to sit at a table with people like this if they weren't good guests. And just seeing it, like, unscripted, unsolicited. I'm like, and she, at the end of the night, she was like, "Thank you again for saying that." I'm like, see the small things you can do without getting in her way. Just be like, "Hey, I see you're doing a great job. We're wonderful." She had our water. So we were not without water, right? There may have been a drought, but like we did not have any moment of feeling that. Our drinks. Let me tell you about the drinks, people. Let me tell you the drinks about Casita on Ventura in Sherman Oaks. There was a avocado margarita. I never in my life. No, what? What? An avocado margarita? That's crazy. Um, I had to try it. Right? It had a guajillo salt rim, all these things. It had some sort of pepper in it. It had some sort of like poblano-y type thing. Maybe it was infused in tequila or something, but it was gorgeous. It was a gorgeous margarita. And then, because I'm very basic, I'm like, I just want a standard margarita, or I want something that's all spirit. I don't need all the extras. And it was just like phenomenal. I'm like, well, when in Rome, we're going to try stuff. So they had a sandia margarita, which is a watermelon margarita. And it had a little like ancho spiced rim. And I was like, hey, can I get that with jalapenos? And they were like, yes, because jalapeno and watermelon is a phenomenal combination. Also, strawberry and basil. Those are just wonderful combinations. I'm like, oh, I'll do it. A little extra sandia, a little extra sugar in my margarita will be fine. It'll be fine. I just had this amazing workout where I was Cosmo Brown and jumping up and down things like I'm in Singing in the Rain. And that was phenomenal. And then I get to my third drink and I see they have frozen margaritas. Babies, I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to me on here, but you know what I miss most about New York City? After the people that I love, a good frozen margarita. They don't really do those out here in LA. They're like, oh, we'll blend your drink. I'm like, that's not a frozen margarita. No, no, thank you, Kimberly, but no. They had a frozen margarita, and I was like, oh my God, I got to do this. And I was like, I setting myself up for disappointment because, all the cocktails are coming in like standard size glasses. And I'm just like, frozen margarita's got to be in a big glass, right? It's just got to be in a big sloppy margarita glass. And I looked at the bar and I didn't see any of those. And I was like, well, whatever. I want a frozen margarita. I don't care if it's in a small glass. It'll be fine. I'll survive. I'll probably be better for it, right? I'll probably be better for it. This woman brings to me a giant margarita glass, like with the curves and everything, and the Mexican glass with like it's clear, but then it has that blue rim on top, and it has salt, and it's a frozen margarita, and it's one of the few things that I drink that are sweet, and oh God, it was beautiful. Oh, and this is just the drinks. I haven't gotten to the food, people. I haven't even gotten to the food. Like, I don't do small plates. I look in volume. I eat with my eyes, and it was like, oh, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. I'm like, no, they're accurate. Like I see something, I want that pile of food. Small plates annoy me because you end up spending more, and it's like, did I really get all that I wanted? Babies, babies. I ordered a ribeye taco, and it's 2 tacos per order, and they're like chiquitos. They're handmade tortillas that are like they're not that big, right? They're maybe like 3 inches in diameter. And trust me, as a gay man, 3 inches ain't gonna be enough, right? And even if there's two of them, but it was like, but they had these caramelized onions on it. It was phenomenal. And then I got this like little plate of taquitos. I'm like, oh, the taquitos come with guacamole and this and that, so that'll be filling. And they were like little tiny taquitos. And I'm like, okay, well, there were 3 little tiny taquitos. They cut them in half. I passed them around the table, and we wanted a bite. That's fine. And I got the escabeche, little pickled carrots and jalapeno and onion. Oh my God, phenomenal. And we also like had our weight in chips and sauce because we got they have this like carousel of different salsas and guac. And we had our weight in chips, right? I was full all yesterday from Saturday night from these small plates. The food was on point. Everything, I enjoyed everything about that experience. I enjoyed, and you know what I enjoyed most? I enjoyed being at a restaurant on a Saturday night and not having to work. I saw that stress and I just was like, it's not for me. It was nice. Now, there was another moment where, we were waiting for our table, went to the restroom, came back, and I walked right behind the hostess. Right as she was turning around and she bumped into me, she stepped on my foot and she was like so apologetic. I was like, no, no, it's my fault. I should have said behind. And I swear to God, you have no idea. That's all I said. I should have said behind. I did not say anything about I should know better because I worked in restaurants, all that. Okay, that's the last thing I want to say about that. We did it. It was phenomenal. And the next day I got to have my workout again. And what's the last thing I did with my weekend? Wow, this is actually I'm doing this all in one take. I'm pretty proud of myself, which is great because, in June, I'm going to Provincetown. I'm not sure if we talked about this, but I'm going to Provincetown in June to be part of the Provincetown Cabaret Festival. It runs from I almost said January, June 8th to the 14th. I'm going to be that Friday, the 12th, is when I'm doing my live TUFF shift live podcast. Now I record these live. I don't really edit these. It's all one take, but when I do where I'm just talking to you solo, I usually break these up and I do them in segments because it helps my brain stay on task and it's less overwhelming, right? But I'm glad I'm doing this all in one take because it shows me that I can do it in one take and we're making progress and I'm not going to get to all the things that I wanted to talk about, but that's okay because they weren't really on subject or on brand, but I wanted to talk about them because it's all over the goddamn internet and I'm so tired of people having opinions about things they're wrong about. But if we don't get to them, we don't get to them. That's fine. You can DM me and figure out what I want to talk about. Or maybe I put up a paywall. Who knows? So, so the rest of my weekend, the next day I was completely full. And then I went to the gym, had my workout, did that. And I went to go see a friend that I made doing Parade last fall in Reefer Madness at the Wisteria Theater in North Hollywood on Vineland. Now, I went to go be a supportive theater friend. I went to do something like a little solo date with myself on a Sunday afternoon while Jeremy was home doing his meal prep and his stuff for his week. Just this wonderful little solo date, a little outing on my own, met up with a castmate up there. Was not really expecting much. Was not expecting much, expecting to really love what I saw just because I think this person is phenomenal. Holy shit, was this show funny. Now, I've never seen Reefer Madness before. I saw like the original PSA, the little scare campaign that they made, the original movie of Reefer Madness that was supposed to be scary and, a cautionary tale, but it was just so campy. It was awful. I saw that, and that is hilarious. And I knew the musical existed. I knew they turned the musical into a movie. I knew all of that. I never have seen the show. And the thing when you're doing campy things, you gotta be good. You gotta be really good to pull off camp. And because you can't just be like, oh, I'm people who just act their way through the songs but don't sing a note, or people who just sing their way through things but don't have feelings. But then it's like then you have comedy, like people who don't know how to do comedy, like what happens? This was not the case here. This cast was phenomenal. Specifically, my former castmate from Parade, Joelle, she fucking ate the scenery. She was hilarious. They all came out in masks in the beginning. I was trying to pick out which one was her. And then, I heard her on the top notes. She was singing the top harmony. And I was like, oh, there she is. I found her. She may not be wearing her hair color. Maybe her wig may be blonde, but I got her. I got her. She was phenomenal. And I wasn't really sure even what her role was. And she was like right up there because I thought it was just the kids. I thought Reefer Madness was just the kids and everyone else was just like an ensemble piece. No, this ensemble, like it is an ensemble piece, but everyone in this ensemble is the star. Literally, everyone in this ensemble is the star, and she is no exception to that. She is like, we all knew, like in Parade, that she was a triple threat, though, there's not much dancing in Parade, right? There's not much opportunity for comedy in Parade. There's not much opportunity unless you're the leads to be able to really showcase all of that. The ensemble, their praise goes unsung, right? They go unsung everything because it just blends. And them being as amazing as they are means that you don't notice it because they're doing so good. That's just part of the job. So it's in some ways a thankless job. I'm so glad she got this opportunity because she is a dancer's dancer. She is a singer. She's got full legit soprano. She's got forward belt. She's got everything. She was literally climbing on set pieces. She was just absolutely hilarious. The entire cast. I hate audience participation unless it's done right, and they did it right. It was campy. It was crazy. It held my attention. I was loving it. So this is at the Wisteria Theater. I should have written down. It's going to be going for a few more weeks. If you're in the LA area, look up Wisteria Theater, Reefer Madness. Do go see this show. Support artists, support live entertainment, support this show. It is hilarious. I texted my little baby brother-in-laws because they're in college to be like, yo, you little potheads, you need to go see this show. You're gonna love it. And they do theater. So yeah, go see Reefer Madness at the Wisteria Theater. I cannot. It was just phenomenal. And that's what I did with my first weekend outside of hospitality. And I love it. I love this journey for me. I love this adventure for me. Now, I was gonna. You'll hear me talk in next week's episode about how I'm recording this episode and I'm gonna record the episode before it later this afternoon. Obviously, that didn't happen. I'm recording the Monday after that, but I'm glad I did. I'm glad I waited. I'm glad things didn't work out as I thought they would because I got a text message from a former coworker. And it was really nice. He reached out and he's like, hey, it's been a while, but I just want to let you know that your presence is missed. We should definitely go get nachos and margaritas sometime. But we miss you. We talk about you and we hope you're doing well. And I was like, that's really nice, right? Because I was thinking like, oh, am I going to see any of these people? Like, I really enjoyed the people that I work with. I really would love to maintain those friendships. And so the fact that he reached out, I was like, that's nice. And so I texted him back this morning, and we started this little exchange. And then he lets me know that they fired somebody, and they fired somebody who probably shouldn't have been fired. Right? Why is it always the people that are that are good that suffer the consequences of shit that just happens in a restaurant? And I just couldn't believe, like, they fired her, one of the best servers there, for something so completely stupid. And it's one of those things where I'm like, this is what I do not miss about hospitality, is the life or death the situations you face that really aren't life or death. They're really small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. Look at the fucking state of the world we're in, and we're in a constant state of shock in the goddamn restaurants, and our nervous systems are on fire because are we going to get fired today? Is this person going to complain? What's going to go on? What are we going to be out of? What's going to be my fault? Like, it's just nonstop. And so he texted me, he's like, yo, she got fired. And I was like, oh, so I sent a very long voice memo about that and my thoughts on that and like how fucked up it is. And he responded, be like, well, you bring up some good points, because what happened was she got a bad review from the 7 rooms reservation thing that we use. So it's like just another, there's Resi, there's Open Table, there's all this and that. And this place, like many other places out there, breeds bad customers. Because they just, you heard when I talked about the training and all the culture that we had to learn and how far they go to bend over for customers at their own detriment, right? At really something that this is not beneficial to the restaurant, and you're comping all these things, and then you're cutting hours because you got to make the money up somewhere, and you're just creating bad customers and bad people, bad neighbors. You're creating bad neighbors. And so apparently, this table wrote in their review, because when you make a reservation through these apps, they send you an email after your reservation to say, hey, tell us about your experience. And in the South Bay, that is maybe not where it stems from, but they are entitled motherfuckers. All right. It may not be the nest of where it all began, the cradle of entitlement, but they are some entitled motherfuckers down there in that little South Bay bubble. And so apparently she was not on top of pouring their wine, which, let me tell you, and I told this to my coworker, on this side of it, I agree that if someone orders a bottle of wine, it is our job. If someone pays for something, they're not coming here to work. So yes, it is our priority to anticipate that need, to keep people's wine glasses full, to keep people's waters full, to make sure everything is on the table that they need. Like, they're not here to do that work. But on a Saturday night, it's busy. Sometimes you're going to pour your own wine, and sometimes, it's not. Some people like to pour their own wine, right? So it's not that deep, right? It's a shallow end of the fucking pool. It's the shallow end of the fucking pool. And I was like, so I'll give them that is, yes, important, but not that important, and not important enough to fire one of your best servers, right? Are we on the same page with that? I think so. So then he goes on, and it's like, yeah, and it happened like on, right when everyone was cut. And I was like, oh, and that makes me even more mad, because there's never enough support in a restaurant for anybody. Where was the manager there to make sure that, going around and topping off people's wines and helping the servers out? Because that's part of their job too. Where was the manager in all this? Not present. Got it. And the fact that this didn't just happen just in the regular busy rush, but after all the servers had been cut. And when that happens, the server who's closing, that's the last person standing, just gets a flood of tables. It's just how it works. There's a flood of tables that you can't be everywhere all at once, right? And it's all minor fucking things. And I'm like, this is just infuriating. And they're shooting themselves in the foot, and they're enabling bad behavior on the customer side. And the hoops are going to get higher and, more, and keep getting moved back for us to jump through us. Like, I'm not part of it anymore, and I'm glad. But like, you're enabling bad behavior, and you're creating a bad culture for customers to get worse. And then I come to find out that it gets even worse than that. It's not just them shooting themselves in the foot. That when she was being fired and the manager and the chef were talking to her, they're like, we don't want to do this. We love you and we don't want to let you go. But someone high up, the director of operations, saw that review and decided that she needed to be fired without anything else. He runs around to multiple restaurants. When I put in my 2 weeks, and he was shocked, like, oh my God, oh wow, I can't believe it. Yeah, because you're not fucking here. You when I was there, he had joined the company at that point for 2 months, didn't say boo to me for 2 months until I put in my 2 weeks. And it's like, oh, we love you. You're just such a positive force, and you're one of our most reliable. You're so strong and talented, and da 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 da. And then he was behind the bar all of a sudden and seeing things that are missing. I'm like, oh yeah, we don't have that. Oh yeah, and it's like, look, this is why people leave. So it's like, that's how detached he is from the situation. So why is he making these decisions on a waiter getting fired, not reprimanded, but fired over something, and not really knowing the context of, like, maybe this person was an asshole? Because, assholes go to restaurants too, and assholes leave reviews. Now, reviews are helpful. There's not much for, the higher ups and the people in charge and managers to know, like, because they're not there. They can't, just like the waiters, they can't be everywhere all at once, but they can start paying attention, and they can ask the server what happened and what went wrong. But like, to fire her, and the fact that he's so far removed, creating this ripple effect in this restaurant, and like, to now everyone's nervous system is spiked again. Like, are we gonna get fired? Is everything like, that's just fucked up. And so, to my girl Christy, because that's her name, she got fired, and she's fucking phenomenal, and she'll be fine. She has another job, and she'll get another job, and on the other side of this, she's better than that place, and she's better outside of it. So I just wish her the absolute fucking best. She's one of my favorite people, even though she rang in like 10 espresso martinis at a time. But when I was singing songs, and she just knew references, even though she's much younger than me, she was raised right. And so she knows a lot of old school hip hop. And so I'd say a song, and she'd come back with a chorus, and we just groove. She helped make my tough shifts a lot easier. And so I couldn't think of a better person to shout out this episode than my girl Christy. We're gonna go get some drinks. We're gonna talk about this, because you know what? Restaurants. Ah, man, I messed it up. I messed up my own thing. But restaurants ain't shit. But I need Christy to fill in the blank, because that's her job. I started the song. She did it. Most of you don't know that song. That's fine. I also don't know what to fill in the blanks for restaurants. But Christy, I just want to say thank you for everything that you did to make my tough shifts a little easier. Clearly, the world needs more people like you. This has been another episode of Tough Shift. Just remember that tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life. Y'all take care of one another. Tough Shift was created and hosted by Sean Patrick Murtagh. It was recorded on Riverside and distributed with Buzzsprout. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and maybe a comment or two. And remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life.